Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how's everybody doing out there? Welcome to the Lionel Mandrake radio program, coming to you live from another undisclosed location located somewhere between 40 feet of reinforced concrete and 18 feet of dirt. So we're really in a subterranean hideout today trying to discuss the news that you want to hear. And today's very special guest is going to be, of course, somebody that many of you are very well versed with and familiar with, Kasaan Jackson. He's also at an undisclosed location. We believe he is somewhere south of the Mason-Dixon line. But we'll let him explain to you later on when he comes on the air exactly where he's at. The reason why today we're being very discreet about our latest location, and if you notice, our studio has changed. Many of you are familiar with the normal Lionel Mandrake radio studio, which either has our flags, which we very much like to hang in the background as a reminder that you don't tread on the American people. And many of you who have recently been watching the show are very familiar, and here's one of our flags. That's right. And here's the other one. This one right here is the Don't Tread on Me snake. Yes, and latest newcomers to the show are more familiar with the latest studio, which I changed this week because we're in another location. And that studio had sort of the ability to put graphics and stuff up in the back. So we decided we're going to give it a little bit of a change at the new location and see how it goes. The reason this week why we are in hiding is because our Democratic candidates, Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton, were giving their latest spiel, or shtick as it were, about what they're going to do to stick it to the American people if either one of them is elected president and makes it to the Oval Office. And so if we're going to discuss anything regarding Democrats or the Democratic Party, we have to be very careful and be concealed. Because as we well know, Democrats may tell you that they're on your side, that they like you, that they want to help you and your family and the world be a nice, safe place, to be a wonderful camp where everybody's holding hands and roasting marshmallows and singing Kumbaya around the fire. But when it comes down to it, Democrats really, at least the latest manifestation as embodied by Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders, is one of two choices. Either you get a woman who is not only deceitful, but almost lacking in the ability to be honest, likable, or willing to own up for previous mistakes that she's made in the past. We're talking about any number of mistakes that have cost people their lives. Of course, the first thing that should come to your mind is Benghazi, when apparently the American Secretary of State that would be, Madame Hillary, wound up kind of allowing a situation to spiral out of control, and it resulted in the loss of life. Not only did she allow it to spiral out of control, but she didn't provide the appropriate safeguards that were requested by the staff at the embassy. They were asking for additional security, but many of you are very well familiar with that. Regarding Bernie Sanders, everybody knows that he's a little crazy guy, weekend at Bernie, all the slogans like feel the burn. Everything about him is designed to disarm you from the fact that the man is a socialist. And socialists worldwide, no matter what stripe or what variety of socialism they try to foist upon a population. And really, socialism is generally foisted upon captive populations. Free nations generally don't willingly give up their freedom or their liberty, really liberty is what we're talking about here, to accept big government, to accept a bureaucracy of top-down, heavy-handed, telling the people what they want, what's good for them, and what they need. If that sounds familiar to a lot of you out there, it's because communism is really the natural outgrowth of socialism. And wherever communism or socialism or Bolshevism or any other kind of ism that involves the notion of the government or intellectual elites or political elites telling you, the people, we the people, what to think, feel, and how to work and what to do with our money and what our rights are, then we have tyranny. Socialism, as embodied by the nice guy, Mr. Bernie Sanders, starts off with promises of, taxing the rich 75%. Well, that's not working out too good in France. The French president, Hollande, wound up taxing the French wealthy some 85% or 90%, and they wound up leaving France. And as we saw recently, France is not necessarily such a safe place right now. They're operating under a type of heightened security, which is a form of martial law, although it's not a martial law that allows for people to remain indoors after a certain time. But there is a heightened police presence in France. They're enforcing a lot of, security measures that need to be addressed due to the fact that the government is not being held accountable to the will of the people who are saying you have to control our borders. We have to be more selective with who we allow into France. The same thing's happening in America. Well, now on the phone, we might have our co-host, who is our guest co-hosting today, and that would be a man that needs no introduction. Everybody knows who he is. Many of you have heard him before. He goes by the name Kasaan Jackson. And Mr. Kasaan Jackson, are you here?
Is the oxygen tank next to you? Because, Jesus, you just go on and on. It doesn't matter. What? Who are you voting for, by the way? I'm just curious. Hey, how's everybody doing out there? But who are you voting for?
Listen, the Lionel Mandrake radio program does not endorse any particular candidates at all. In fact, we're very nonpartisan and impartial. The problem with a lot of talk show hosts today, such as yourself, and I know you're in the business, is that you people push your own agendas and try to guide people towards your own selected candidate. At the Lionel Mandrake radio program, we don't do that. We don't support any particular candidate.
Okay, who's you people?
You know who you people are. What do you mean, you people? Don't give me that old tired joke.
I'm just crazy. Come on, man. Listen, first of all, Hillary, Bernie, Donnie, whoever, we are in trouble.
Yes.
Point blank.
You got that right, brother.
We're in trouble, okay? First of all, Bernie, last night, he was like, blacks, criminal justice, blacks.
Oh, yeah, we got to reach out to the community. And I'm from Brooklyn, but I live in Vermont, and I'm a senator of another state. But I'm for you, the people. Now, if he's so up on helping the common everyday man, why did he flee, jump ship, and go to a beautiful state, lily white as the driven snow of the Colorado Rockies, and go to Vermont? If he's so down with the struggle,
he probably got ran out of Brooklyn because Brooklynites don't be going for the rah-rah. So he's probably, he did the right thing. Get out of Brooklyn with that. All right, number one. Okay,
right.
Just get out. Do what you're gonna do up there. Then he comes back. He goes uptown and go check Al. You know what I'm saying?
Are you referring to who? Are you referring to? Al who? Sharpton?
Of course, he goes check him. Like this is the black representation we have. It's Al Sharpton. All right, so now we got Bernie. We got Bernie going to check out Al and make sure everything's cool, so he can go to the South and win over black votes by saying, blacks, criminal justice, blacks. Well, Bernie, first of all, that's just a bunch of hogwash. Number two, I don't know if you watched the debate last night. But
I couldn't stomach most of it. I watched towards the end of it. I was curious.
Okay,
I needed some information to talk about.
Bernie brought up, and you don't hear too much of it today, but Bernie brought up, the tax. The big tax, basically the Koch brothers.
Would you get off the Koch brothers jockstrap? The Koch brothers never did anything to you. They create thousands of jobs worldwide.
Yeah, exactly.
You've been programmed by the Democratic operatives over at CNBC and MSLSD.
Whoever the Koch brothers says is going to be the president, that's who your president is.
It's not the Koch brothers have no power. These people are not politically engaged in the same way the Hillary Clinton deception machine is. Hillary Clinton is plugged.
Mandrake. Hey, yes? Mandrake, listen, you can say what you want, but at the end of the day, them dudes run everything, okay?
Are you kidding me? Look at Donald Trump. He's a multi-billionaire, and even with all his wealth and power and influence, even he's getting the third degree from the mainstream media and the liberal press out there, which is the mainstream media.
Okay, first of all, Donald Trump is not a political figure.
And that's one reason why people should vote for him, because he's not part of the good old boys network that you, as a man from the community, should be very concerned about. Because these people who are saying they're going to help the community have never done anything but make it more impoverished and more difficult for people who are trying to struggle.
See, Trump struggle.
I didn't say Trump's struggling. He's flying high to 757.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
and Trump's only there. Listen, Trump is making money off of this. And
you think he's making money?
Trump, come on, man. Instead of doing the debate on Fox, what did he do? He raised money for for the wartime veterans or whoever they were.
Well, the veterans,
how much money of that did they see?
I'm sure they saw a heck of a lot more of it than any of these other TV commercials where they're featuring, offering money and donations.
At the same time, he was willing to throw them to the wolves because he's like, oh, if Fox paid me $5 million, I'll go on to what you call. So
No,
he's
listen.
basically making money.
No, Donald
He
Trump is
doesn't
not
need-
about making money now. He's giving up a lot in order to run for the presidency. And if he's
No,
elected, he's going to
giving
give
up
the
a lot
control of
more,
his
and
company
he's
to his
giving
subordinates
opportunities of making
and family
money.
members.
Yeah, he don't care about none of that. He don't care. He's
He
an
cares
idiot.
about
We're gonna
one-
make America great again. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Come on,
Hold on, Jackson.
look.
I was going to tell you something here. I know you might not be in agreement with me, but I really believe that his heart is in the right place and that he really wants to reverse the bleeding that America is experiencing after 7 years of a failed president whose policies have diminished our prestige throughout the world and whose foreign policy, which was really, characterized by the abandonment of people in Benghazi and the abandonment of our foreign obligations in several countries throughout the Middle East have resulted in power vacuums that saw the rise of ISIS. We're talking about a lot of neglect,
Oh, my
man.
God,
7
this
years
guy.
of this, and we need change, and we don't need another politician. Bernie Sanders, to me, is not a politician. He's an ideologically driven has-been who lives in the 1960s. And he still thinks the Vietnam War and Henry Kissinger are things we should be talking about now.
Who sounds like he has bronchitis. I agree. But my
Okay.
thing is this, man. Okay, my thing is this, buddy. Trump kicked the old lady out of the house just to put a hotel in Vegas somewhere. These are things.
Oh,
and
he
then when
did.
somebody-
Oh, he
when
did.
Jeb Bush-
Let me ask you a
and
question,
Jeb
Jackson.
Bush-
Did he?
And hold on. And Jeb Bush said, "Come on." He brought it out. And you know what he said? He went, "Hey, shut up, Jeb. What are you, a tough guy?"
Jackson, did he actually succeed in evicting the woman using eminent domain?
Yeah, come on, money, man, money. Big
Did
bank,
Did
little
Donald
bank.
Trump
Of course he
succeed
did.
in evicting the woman in Las Vegas from her home?
That's why it's a story. He kicked some little old lady out. What if
He
that
didn't
was your
kick her
mother?
out. In the end, he just gave up and walked away from the whole thing. He didn't kick her out.
Yeah.
Nobody was thrown out. She was offered a phenomenal amount of money to give up an old rat trap that she lived in. She didn't want to go. Most old people are very
Everything's
comfortable.
not about money, man.
And he
Everybody's
didn't
not
build
about
the
money.
casino,
It
the
was
property that he
sentimental.
wanted there, and that was the end of it. So he didn't really force the issue. He was hoping perhaps to get a deal made with her, and it
Okay,
didn't
well,
work, and that was it.
Maybe he didn't, but his heart
It's not
was on.
maybe. He didn't throw her out. She wasn't removed.
But his intentions was to throw her out.
She didn't
Like
want to sell.
capital gain.
And it was
Who's really
perfectly
doing-
legal. It's perfectly legal, just like 1,000 other eminent domain issues are legal throughout the country. Like he said, you can't get anything done, capital programs, corporate improvement programs, or infrastructure programs without eminent domain.
So,
You can't even build a
let me get straight.
tunnel, the Second Avenue subway in New York City. You can't build that without utilizing some aspects of eminent domain because you got to build stops. You got to go build exits that come up. The subway stations are going to come up in front of someone's property. You got to use eminent domain in order to get that project completed. It's for the greater good,
Really?
but it shouldn't be abused. Now, someone like Hillary Clinton and the
Talking about Las
Clintonistas have
Vegas,
been
you
abusing
can't compare
power
Las
for
Vegas
years.
to Second Avenue.
Say again?
You can't compare Las Vegas to Second Avenue. Las Vegas is a desert with buildings on it, okay? So this lady had her little rat trap on top of some desert land, and he wants to take it for what? Capital gain. Simple as that, man. Now,
No,
what
he
you
wanted
do
to
is
build a casino.
what you do is you put the twist on it with political jargon.
Now-
Sorry, man. At the end of the day, some old lady was going to be on her keister outside of some desert next to a cactus while Donald Trump was in there, and America's great. Come on, man.
Yeah, but check it
I
out.
understand
But
what you-
just think of her bank book, how fat it would be if she'd have just went along with the program. But no, she had to rock the boat. To some old ladies, you understand, they get a little set in their ways. She didn't realize that the one with 6 zeros after it wasn't $10. Maybe she didn't understand. So
Oh, great. Here
apparently,
you come, a Donald Trump supporter, basically saying this lady was stupid.
no, I don't.
She had
I don't support any
sentimental
candidate at
reasons.
this
You know,
time. I'm
what
not.
if it
I'm
was
not
your
on board with
mother,
any
man?
particular
What if it was your
candidate.
mother? What if this was your mother? What if this was your grandmother right here? What was, come on.
I would convince my grandmother to please accept this $10 million check from Donald Trump and say thank you. It was a pleasure working with you. That's what I would do. And then you'd be calling me up saying, "Hey, brother, what's up, man? How's it going?"
Yeah, I sure would. Hey, I need a car.
Yeah, and then you get the busy signal. The number you have reached has been temporarily.
Exactly.
Hey,
Oh,
about
my God.
listen, would you vote for me if I were running for president of the United States? Because I'm thinking of announcing my candidacy for presidency of the United States of America.
How about doing this? Go ahead and do that first.
All right, hold on one
Let
second.
me see it.
Ladies
let me
and
see how that
gentlemen,
goes.
to the American people, I would like
Yes.
Lionel Mandrake to announce my candidacy for the presidency of the United States of America. And for the flag that we stand, to the republic that we defend, we can take America back from the powers that be. And
No,
I
you sound
promise,
Oh,
a chicken in every pot, and I promise 40 acres and a mule to anybody that will
See.
vote for me.
You know
Thank
what?
you very much.
At your first primary, you'll get assassinated. I can see that. You're not even going to make it past the first caucus. And you can forget about it.
Hey, Jackson.
You know, what?
Speaking of assassinations, which is a serious topic, I don't like to joke around about them, but unless it involves me actually being the target of it. But Saran was actually up for parole. Can you believe it? He was up for parole. It was like his 12th parole hearing or whatnot, and he was, of course, denied. What do you think about that?
I think they need to let the dude out. After all, it wasn't his master plan to kill Robert F. Kennedy. That wasn't his plan.
You think it was a conspiracy, as some people have suggested?
Look, I mean, people say conspiracy. It could have been, yeah. He was conspiring. He was conspiring with some other yokels, and they got the job done.
Well, let's not diminish what was done here. The former Attorney General of the United States of America, the brother of a slain president, the man who was running
son of a bootlegger,
the son of a U.S. ambassador to England, and also the heir to a political dynasty, had his life cut short in a hotel at the hands of a foreign individual who, I don't know how he came into the country, but he was actually from the Palestinian territories in Israel at the time.
Son of a what? Of a English ambassador?
Well, you do know that Joseph P. Kennedy, the father of the President Kennedy and Robert F. Kennedy and others, and Edward Kennedy, the swimmer, also known as, the guy who got away with the death of Mary Jo Kopechne in Chappaquiddick, but I digress. Their father was nominated, or rather, he was made the ambassador, the U.S. ambassador to England by Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
What was he? He was a bootlegger, a common crook.
Well, a lot of family fortunes have been unfortunately begun by people who used illicit means to acquire that vast amount of money that they needed. But once they got the money, it was like The Godfather. Then they wanted to go straight. So becoming an ambassador was really something that Joseph P. Kennedy maybe didn't like so much.
He wanted to go straight after he went up to Chicago and got with the fellas up there. Was like, hey, I need y'all to stuff ballot boxes up here. Put my guy in, and I'll take care of it.
Yeah, up in Chicago.
And he did that. So Giancana was like, oops, did I say his name? Anyway, he was like, yeah, go ahead.
Giancana was a powerful mafia figure from that period of American
but he
history.
wasn't even the man in charge. He was just the man, basically conveying the orders, okay? But now he gets mad. Okay, you got your sons, Robert, and this John guy, they're not giving us the love we was promised. So now we got to do what we got to do.
I'm sorry, you lost me completely at the I got to do what I got to do part. What got to do what? What are you talking about?
I mean, come on. Neither one of those, John or Robert's around. You know why? Their father welched on a deal. Simple as that, man. Come on.
Oh, so the deal was to get rid of the Attorney General, Robert F. Kennedy, if Giancana, stuffed the ballot boxes
come on.
sufficiently.
Basically, he was like, yo, come on. After the Kafara committee and all of that, look, man, we noticed that y'all are starting to pay close attention to our little organization. We'll stuff ballot boxes for you if you told those guys to, turn their back.
Well, do you expect any other behavior than stuffing ballot boxes from Democrats? I mean, that's what they're known for. They're known for really using any means necessary, and I don't mean to
you say
for
Democrats,
your slogan,
I
but
say
to
the guy was
achieve
a
the means of being elected. So they want to do anything they can to be elected, Mr. Jackson, and that would include chicanery, dishonesty, stuffing ballot boxes, bringing the dead back to life to stuff the ballot boxes, and also telling you any goddamn lie that you very well want to hear, no matter how big and deep and in crap it is. They'll tell you anything you want to hear, and people like you are going to believe it. Why? Because you're looking at the world through a lens that is filtered with all kinds of crap.
What you just said is the same thing Hillary's doing, but you're trying to condemn Hillary. She's a liar. Well, you show me one politician that isn't a liar.
This isn't a contest between one liar's less of a liar than the previous liar. We have to look for somebody who at least can not only be somewhat honest, but try to do the best they can for the good of the nation. And someone, in my opinion, like Hillary Clinton, is not trying to do the best thing for the nation. Now,
well, all I know is your man was a bootlegger. Okay.
He's not my man. I never liked. The only person I really admired was John F. Kennedy, and that was mostly because of nostalgia. Watching an old videotape about him once I found online. It was called. It was a documentary about the assassination. Really, it was called 3 Days in November. That's what it was.
He had a real good flair and taste for women. I'll give him that.
Right.
You know
There's
what I'm
nothing wrong necessarily with that, although he did try to conceal that aspect. Let's move on to some other more current news, because I'm beginning to sound like Bernie Sanders talking about Kissinger and the Vietnam War. We're talking about today's news up here at the undisclosed location. I got a couple of dossiers sent to my, here you go, sent to my cave. And apparently a police officer, Peter Liang, was convicted of manslaughter in the death of Akai Gurley in the staircase over there in Brooklyn. And this police officer, you may be happy about this, is facing 15 years in prison. And it's a second-degree manslaughter conviction. And I'm just wondering, as a man who may have been profiled in your previous incarnations as a person of the urban environment, do you believe that this officer deserves a second-degree manslaughter charge? Or do you think that this unfortunate accident, and I say accident, he wasn't aiming the gun, he got spooked. No offense there, but he got spooked. And his trigger finger twitched, and he accidentally fired the round, and it ricocheted off the wall, and resulting in an unfortunate death of an innocent man who was doing nothing other, whose only crime was walking down a 7th-floor staircase because the elevator was not working. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, here's the thing, man. First of all, I don't want to sound like a cop hater, but I am.
Well, at least you're honest. Now, you're the kind of politician I would vote for.
Okay, this cop, if I might, because I'm not really too familiar with this scenario here, but is this cop, is he of Asian persuasion by any chance?
Well, I don't like to profile people based on their appearance, but I'm going to profile him based on his name, Peter Liang. So if his name is, I'm assuming that he may be Asian, most likely, and I don't mean to offend anybody, but I do believe he may be Chinese.
Okay.
Like you.
So they got this Asian guy who's a police.
Not police, the police.
Okay, the police. However you want to put it. So they set this guy up to be a scapegoat. You're going to be the one we give 15 minuscule years for taking a life.
Minuscule years for an accident?
Yeah,
now, let's say you tripped down the staircase and landed on someone walking up the staircase and crushed them to death. Am I supposed to put you in jail for 15 years?
Is that really what happened? Was you in the staircase when he brutally murdered that child? No, he wasn't there.
Well, the child... Let's keep things in perspective. I don't think the child was a child. I think he was a young man. He may have been in his 20s.
Okay, young man.
He wasn't a child. I mean, which is besides the point.
How old was this young man?
Well, my researchers tell me that he. Well, actually, I don't have any researchers, so I'm looking it up. Usually, the newspaper will tell you how old he is. I don't know how old he is, but he had to be in his early 20s.
Okay, still a child. Still a young
child?
Black child in our nation was gunned down by a pig. Okay?
He was gunned down.
And you're trying to tell me it was an accident. How do you know?
Wait a minute. What's the difference between a gun accidentally going off because you get spooked and the bullet, the round, ricocheting off of a wall and hitting somebody coming down the staircase? I mean, there's no dispute to the fact that he wasn't aiming a gun at him.
Does the ballistics support your theory? No, probably not.
Excuse me. I do have an update. The age of the gentleman who was unfortunately whose life was taken, Akai Gurley, he was 28 years old and he was a father. God rest his soul.
Even worse. Yeah, that's even worse.
So is he still? He's not a child. So we established that.
Okay, that's even worse. Some child is without a father.
That's right.
Because a savage police, be it Asian, white, black, whoever, still one who wears that uniform.
Excuse me. I don't necessarily agree with most of what you say, but at this point, I don't agree with you calling police tarring them with one broad brush like that. Obviously, the officer, he was jittery and he should have never had the gun out of his holster. Now, if I were doing a vertical...
He should have never been in that job capacity in the first place.
You know, you're right about that, Mr. Jackson. He is Asian, which means they were trying...
You're not supposed to be jittery.
It was probably a form of, like, diversity sort of fulfillment where they had to have X number of Asians, no matter how jittery they were, or X numbers of Latinos, or X numbers of white guys, or X numbers of African Americans. And it's not necessarily the best people that they're taking. Now, if this guy was that jittery, how the heck did he get past the NYPD psychological battery? I mean, these people ask you they must have just rubber stamped him. All right, his last name is Liang. Let's let him get through. Give him a badge and a gun. I could tell you one thing, Mr. Jackson. You or I are both from the same stock. If we were walking down that darkened staircase in Brooklyn in the middle of the evening and we heard some door open, I don't think we'd be all that jittery about it.
No, you turn around and you start shooting. You know what I'm saying? By all means necessary,
Now, wait a minute. Would you turn around and start shooting?
Yeah, I don't know what's just popping off around the corner.
Oh, so you would have intentionally fired your weapon. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So you're actually doing what the officer Liang is actually being convicted, and he's going to spend several years of the rest of his next 15 years
Exactly. So
in jail
stop
for.
saying it like he didn't do it. He was scared. Well, if
He was
scared,
afraid. He was fearing for his life.
He wasn't scared. He was waiting. I mean, I didn't say I would be afraid. I just turn around and start shooting because that's the time to pop off, and that's what he did.
So in other words, let me ask you a question in all seriousness. I personally believe that he is guilty of second-degree manslaughter because there is a component of negligence involved. However, it was not intentional, which also would come into my factoring if I were a judge. It was unintentional, but it was neglectful, and it was certainly, I think, in blatant disregard to established NYPD proper procedure. In other words, there is a certain amount of discretion in unholstering your weapon. However, for his weapon to be discharged, his finger had to be on the trigger, and in order for you to actually be in correct compliance, your finger must not be on the trigger if you're going to unholster your weapon unless you're actually faced with a threat. He was negligent. It was an accident. With that, I think he deserves some jail time, but I think 15 years is too much. He'll probably get a third of that. He'll get 7. He'll be out in about 4. What do you think?
Okay, this is what I think. I think he probably will be out at 4. But let me put you in somebody's shoes. You're a young lady. You're getting ready to get married.
Right.
Normally, in a marriage or a wedding ceremony, your father gives you away. Here, this young lady is getting ready to walk down the aisle with no father. Why? Because the man with whatever type of issues you just explained took her father's life, and all he got was 15 years and did 4? No. Fry the bastard. I'm sorry. That little girl's got to go through a life with no father, and this guy gets 4 years. Get out of here.
Boy, I'm so glad I'm not. I'm so glad you're not a judge or somebody in power to put somebody to the. You'd probably have somebody like quartered, medieval style. You know, when they take 4 horses and tie each leg and arm to a horse.
I mean, they do it.
Don't you think a mistake? The man. First of all, do you? Let me ask you a question. Do you believe, and we've discussed this before, do you believe that racism is a two-way street, or is it the fact that you once mentioned to me that black people are incapable of racism? Is that correct?
Yeah, their economical status doesn't allow that.
Can you expound on that?
We're not. Yeah, for the fact that, well, if I have nothing from the beginning, right, how could I be a racist if I sat there and earned everything? I had to work for everything. But yet and still I turn around and judge somebody. I think I have the right to judge him because I had to go. No,
you don't have the right because Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders say you don't have the right to judge anybody. Everybody is equal and nobody's better than anyone else except everyone is better than whites lately who have been taking a good ass kicking.
Bro. Let's look at reality. That's not the case.
Oh, give me a break. You're not allowed to think anything that's beyond the pale. You have to think what you're told to think. Don't you understand?
No. Yeah,
you're thinking what you're told.
Your true colors are coming out.
But if you're saying that by virtue of your pigmentation and ethnicity, you are incapable of racism, and so by default are other minorities. This poor gentleman is not guilty of any racism that you just, said he was guilty of because he is a minority. He is Chinese. He's not a white guy.
Well,
what's the matter? The cat got your tongue? I mean, he can't be any more guilty of racism than you would be guilty of racism, and I know that you might be guilty of it, probably in the first degree.
No, I'm not. No, not. First of all, I love all, okay? I am known to be a lover of all.
Define all. Do you love me and my people?
No.
Okay, so how could you love all unless you're implying that I am a non-person?
What I'm saying, you and your people are a different group of savages. I don't know what the hell. You know what I mean? Come on.
Savages.
When I think of you, I think, what's the guy, Limbaugh? For some reason, his name pops up.
You got to get off his jockstrap, too, because Limbaugh is not a person that in any way, shape, or form is somebody that has any influence on my opinions or my show. Do you understand?
Yeah, but let me ask you this. If Limbaugh was in your face, you'd be the first one to run up and shake his hand, wouldn't you? Oh, there goes Rush Limbaugh.
Well, there's something about Rush Limbaugh. He's very, very clinical about his assessments of the Daily News Digest and the political scene. He is astute and he's very smart. But I find him to be like dry toast. I can take him in spurts, but I don't find his humor particularly tickling, but I find his political analysis mostly very astute. I can't deny Mr. Limbaugh his props.
Okay, first of all, I want you to expound a little more on Limbaugh. While
Please.
you do that, I'm gonna be ordering something to eat at Burger King. Can I do that? Can a black man get something to eat at Burger King?
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello? Yeah, are you there, Mr. Jackson?
Yes, sir.
Are you dining at a fine, well-established facility known as Burger
Bouger
King?
King. Yeah, the Bouger King.
So you're at the BBK. Okay, brother, man.
Yeah,
So
the Bouger King.
don't forget the barbecue sauce
yeah.
for those chicken wings, the chicken cutlets.
Hey, the 2 for $5 mix and match. What else come with that?
All right, to my vast listening audience out there, this is a problem with trying to have a co-host who's hungry. He's going to go to the Burger King and order. Now, let us go to a commercial break. At this moment, we're going to go to a commercial break, and we're going to now market to my vast listening audience a product that everybody out there may be very well familiar with. We are going to be marketing. Excuse me, Mr. Jackson, I'm at a commercial break right now. Would you please listen? We're going to be marketing the latest line of Mandrake clip-on nose bones and lip plates. Each nose bone is going to go for $5.99 per bone, and it clips on. The reason why we have these nose bones is because everybody out there knows somebody who has a piercing in their nose. The latest craze is nose piercings. I see it in men, I see it in women, I even see it in the elderly. They all got nose piercings. Some of these piercings are like big hoops through the nostril and everything else. But nobody out there has the Lionel Mandrake clip-on nose bone. We are going to be marketing this. You can pre-order by contacting the Lionel Mandrake radio program at the provided email address, westerntradition@hotmail.com. Please email your order for the Lionel Mandrake clip-on nose bone and lip plate ensemble. $5.99, shipping and handling included. Now, Mr. Jackson, are you there?
Yeah, I was.
Are you going to buy a clip-on nose bone?
Can I get a deal? Can I get a homie deal on that one?
I don't believe it. We're going to go to the news.
Homie hookup.
Let's mute this guy. Are you going to come back to the show, or are you going to be continuing order? Because I'm going to throw you on mute.
No, don't put me on mute. I finished ordering.
All right. Now,
I think the vast public.
I need to ask you a question because the audience is getting disgusted right now. In fact, even my camera crew walked off. They're going to have a snack, and this is because you're ruining the show. All right, we're talking about politics, and you're ordering Burger King food. No, it's not funny. I think this is a conspiracy. You are under contract with Howard, and Howard is going to want his pound of flesh. When he sees what you just did on our show, forget about clip-on nose bone sales. You're going to be paying for years.
Okay, so I ordered some Burger King, and you're peddling nose bone.
All right, no, I am peddling the clip-on nose bone, and I want you to model it for me. I'm going to send you a sample. You're going to send me a photograph of you wearing it, and we're going to sell it. We'll make a killing. You get 5% of the profits, okay?
Okay, can we negotiate that percentage?
We can negotiate. Anything's negotiable. Remember, I'm a lot like Donald Trump. I believe in the art of the deal.
Boy.
You see, you got to make a deal. The art of a deal is trying to get compromise. But, of course, you don't want to give the whole house away like our former Speaker of the House, who gave everything away. This guy was a complete and crying mess. This guy Boehner was discussing. Now, I want to ask you, there was a big event. Let's step it back now to my audience. Welcome to the Lionel Mandrake radio program. I'm your host, Lionel Mandrake, with my trusty co-host somewhere south of the Mason-Dixon line. Hello?
What?
Aren't you going to introduce yourself?
Right now.
All right.
My name is Kasaan Jackson. I'm the purveyor, the representative of every hood from here to Brooklyn. I speak for the Black Hood Contingency.
The Black Hood Contingency. Let me ask you a question. Recently on Sunday, there was a Super Bowl game, Super Bowl 50, and we had a woman known as Beyonce, who is well known for her rotund buttocks and her very thick legs, along with, it appears, all of her dancers were of the same stock. Apparently, a lot of people are saying that they viewed that Super Bowl halftime show to be not only racist, but also giving black nationalist overtones to an audience of more than close to 1 billion people worldwide. And I'm wondering, what would happen if the Klan went out there and did an homage to white nationalism